Chief Rabbi Mervis, Your Excellency, Ambassador Regev, the Right Honourable Sajid Javid, His Worshipful, the Mayor of Barnet, Rabbi Lawrence, Dayanim, Rabbanim, distinguished guests, Chaverim. Over the course of this year, I've been privileged to meet three titans of Zionism, Natan Sharansky, Asher Kalingold, and Max Kopstein. Natan Sharansky was a refusnik in the old Soviet Russia. He was a man stripped of his liberties and of his freedoms, all in the name of Zionism. When I met him earlier this year, he showered Bnei Akiva with praise. I was moved by the way he spoke about how we flooded the streets of London peacefully, protesting in his name. He spoke of a movement with a mission. Max and Asher are far less likely to be household names, but are names that we should all know. Max was the manager of Thaxted Farm in the UK, a kibbutz whose prime goal was to send people to Israel to work the land. Asher is the oldest living Mazkir, having worked for 6 years of his life in the 1950s for Bnei Akiva. The stories Asher told were incredible and left me in awe. Bnei Akiva of their era was essential to the development of Israel. Bnei Akiva was a movement with a mission. Bnei Akiva, and all youth movements for that matter, were built upon a wave of disenfranchisement, counterculturalism, and ideological yearnings. For Bnei Akiva, our counterculturalism stemmed from our Zionism, branching from both religious roots and a commitment to Aliyah. Many nowadays will look at Bnei Akiva through the eyes of history and question whether that air of anti-establishmentism and counterculturalism still exists. Does Bnei Akiva have a mission in the same way that it did in the eras of Sharansky, Asher, and Max? To put it simply, yes. There have been periods of time where religious Zionism was largely homogeneic, a group united by one voice. It is not now. It is now represented by a diverse body of individuals with unique drives, ambitions, and beliefs. What does it mean to be a left-wing religious Zionist, excluded by many religious Zionists for supporting this disengagement, and cynically by many left-wing Zionists for being religious? They can make their home within Bnei Akiva. What does it mean to be a right-wing youth, excluded by dogmatic thinkers for being young and inexperienced, yet shunted from student movements for not being left-wing? It is not uncommon to hear their voices within Bnei Akiva. What does it mean to have a liberal mindset, yet remain true to traditional religious values? Excluded by many within Orthodoxy due to struggling with religious interpretations on sexuality, gender, and egalitarianism, yet ostracized from liberalism due to being a religious fundamentalist. These voices are not excluded from Bnei Akiva. We are the voice of modern Orthodox and religious Zionist youth in the UK. We challenge the norms that society imposes upon us. Bnei Akiva is not a left-wing nor a right-wing movement. The voices I just mentioned are not necessarily indicative of the movement, but they can be. We are a movement which lives within the broad grey area. We can turn perceived diametric opposites into harmonies. What does it mean to live a lifestyle of Torah, Avodah, Aliyah? Ask 10 Bogrim and you will receive 10 different answers. Some of those Bogrim will be disciples of Rav Kook. Some of them will be disciples of Rav Soloveitchik. Some of those Bogrim align with Beit Yehudi, and some of those Bogrim align with Machaneh Tzioni. Being countercultural in our modern era is to break down values and mindsets and abandon the stereotypes which they are attached to. We are proud to have established an educational system which does not indoctrinate, it educates. In a society which is seen as being fractured, terms such as the liberal elites and populists are brandished around to delegitimize one another's arguments. In the world around us, walls are built around people, but not here, not within the Bnei Akiva, not within the Zionism we teach. This diversity is not just the story of Bnei Akiva, it is the story of Israel, of Zionism. Israel was not built by the religious or by the secular. It was built by a collective of different voices and different views under the banner of national self-determination. Its creation was reliant on both Ben-Gurion and Begin, Rav Kook and Herzl. Israel was built by a diverse group of individuals who brought social and economic philosophies from the corners of their diasporas. None of Israel's founding fathers were the same, yet none of them were more Zionist than each other. Zionism is an organic philosophy which has seen many faces. The Zionism I mentioned earlier, the Zionism of Asher and Max, was built upon a religious nationalistic fervor as part of the Torah v'Avodah movement that erupted from the Enlightenment. The Zionism of Sharansky was built out of the plight of Eastern European Jewry. However, Bnei Akiva Zionism has not spawned from thousands of years of persecution. It is not a backwards-looking movement. Our Zionism is a message of hope to the world, that a nation, fragmented and cast across the four corners of the world, can return to their indigenous homeland, bringing culture and social values from their diasporas. Our Zionism is about looking at Israel for where it is and seeing it for what it can become. Our Zionism is about taking Israel out of its early infancy and into its maturity. Our Zionism is complicated and it is inclusive. Our sages in Pirkei Avot teach that any argument that is for the sake of heaven will eternally endure. And it is this that I propose as Bnei Akiva's new message to the world. To show the world that people can have different ideologies, yet in the end they all want the same thing. A left-wing and a right-wing Zionist both want the same thing, a better Israel. They both want peace, and they both want prosperity. We must allow that argument to continue. Our Chanachim start their journeys with us, looking at our historic and religious ties to Israel, before culminating in seeing where we are today and engaging in contemporary debate. None of us can claim to be the arbiters of who is or isn't Zionist, for we all love Israel. We all want the best for Israel, and we are all different. When I left Natan Sharansky, Asher and Max, I could have walked away deflated. I could have walked away questioning what the purpose of Bnei Akiva is. Can we claim to be as radical and as relevant as the iterations that came before us? But I did not ask these questions. I felt inspired by the Bnei Akiva that was, and the Bnei Akiva that is to come. So yes, we are still countercultural. And yes, we still do have a mission. In a society that teaches us to fear the outsider and cynically scorn at your opponent, the messages of Zionism, Israel, and Bnei Akiva teaches us that this is not the case. Diversity is not the problem with society. Intolerance to diversity is. We in this room, as a united group of Zionists, must be proof of that. So Chaverim, be proud of who you are. Be proud of what you believe in. Be proud of your individualism. Be proud of the fact that we can sit with a friend and a chanich and have a nuanced and challenging discussion. This is our prerogative. For us, Yom Haatzmaut, like all festivals, is about converting history into memory to create messages for a modern generation. It is not just a celebration of history and of Israel's achievements. It is a cue to look forward and see what is to come. We as Bnei Akiva have a duty to ensure that Zionism remains a living ideology, and we must ensure that debate endures. Chag Atzmaut Sameach.